I kind of feel like laughing again to start this one, but I'm not going to.
I will.
You lost to Vanderbilt, though, Alabama
Mhm.
fans. Ha! Anyway, all right. So enough about that. We are going to preview this week's games, and we are going to start off with yours truly, the LSU Tigers. Welcome to Baton Rouge. The Ole Miss Rebels. Lane Kiffin comes to town. 3-point favorites. Ole Miss coming to Baton Rouge. How quickly they forget about that loss to Kentucky. And it is time for LSU to put up or shut up. It's time to really all right, who are we? Let's reveal who this team actually is. And maybe we'll see a little bit about both of these teams because I don't think either of them has really gotten their test yet this
Mhm.
year. I think if you look back at that USC game early in the year, that's a team that LSU should have beaten because I think
Definitely.
USC has been exposed as not being as good as we thought they were. Um, and LSU has played a lot better since then. And on top of that, I think that Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. I think Ole Miss is better than that. Maybe not as good as what they did to South Carolina this weekend, but this again, we go back to you want to do a real crazy transitive property or a round and round they go. So South Carolina beats Kentucky 31-6. Kentucky beats Ole Miss, what, by 3 or by a couple, by a touchdown, whatever it was, 27-21 or something like that. I don't
It was
remember what it
20 to
was.
17.
Or 2017. Yeah, so they beat them by 3. And then 27-3, Ole Miss beats South Carolina. How? What is
Just
going on?
whoop, just like
Because
that.
so South Carolina's 25 points better than Kentucky. Kentucky's 3 points better than Ole Miss, but Ole Miss is 24 points better than South Carolina. And then LSU beat South Carolina by a field goal in Beamer Stadium, Beamer Ball in Williams-Brice Stadium. Um, but yeah, so what does all this mean? It means nothing. It means throw all that crap out the window because two heavyweights are going to go head to head. Two offensive juggernauts that we had. What was it last year? 55-49 was the final
Yeah, dude.
in Oxford. So I think if you're going to do anything with this game, maybe look at the over because that spread is too enticing as an LSU fan. Where I'm like, okay, um, I could see why people would be tempted to take Ole Miss minus the points because LSU hasn't shown that they deserve better than that yet. And I think Ole Miss could probably make the excuse that they kind of stubbed their toe a couple of weeks ago, and now you see all the fallout in the rest of the SEC where Tennessee and Alabama losing the way they did. Ole Miss is right back in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm.
We're just waiting to see if Texas A&M, or LSU is going to lose an SEC game,
Yep.
because so far those are the only 3 teams without a loss on their record.
Dude,
So
I don't want to wish any bad ill things on your team, but I was thinking about this earlier today. What if every SEC team? Well, I guess it wouldn't because I think Vanderbilt has more than one conference loss. But no, wouldn't every team have one conference loss if those 3
no,
lose?
no, you got a couple of teams with
Oh,
multiple.
okay. Then I'm just talking out my ass.
Yeah, like
But no
And
no
Mississippi
undefeated
State.
SEC.
Yeah, now no undefeateds. Yeah,
Yeah,
I could see that happening.
all
No,
the
I could
top teams
definitely.
getting knocked down to a one-loss team. I think
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
LSU's not going to go undefeated in the SEC. I
No.
very highly doubt that. I don't think Texas A&M is going to go undefeated in the SEC either. The only one that I think possibly could is Texas,
Yeah.
because we already talked about how easy their schedule is earlier this year. But before the season started, we talked about that. Um, but and it might not be terrible to revisit that just for just a touch because I do think let's look at this. Let's look at the schedule. Um, let me pull that banner down. Pardon me. I apologize. All right, so Texas has remaining on their schedule Oklahoma and Dallas this weekend, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M. That doesn't sound as easy as it used to sound, does it? Remember how we talked about how easy that schedule was?
Right,
Now
dude.
it's like, man, I don't know. Like, Vandy might be tough. Kentucky might be tough. Texas
Dude.
A&M looks like they might be tough.
Yeah. Oh my
They're
God.
reigniting that rivalry. Like all of a sudden, it's like, man, you could have every team in the SEC with at least one loss.
Which I think is going to make things so much more interesting if that does happen. If Texas runs the table, oh well. But I think it'd be way more
Mhm.
interesting with every team with at least a loss to just kind of just throw
Right.
even a bigger monkey wrench in the situation. But how
Hmm.
you feel about
So
this one? You
yeah,
think
so
LSU's taking care of business?
I mean, it's so Walter Nolan. We talked about it before. He's a big guy in the middle of that defensive line for Ole Miss. Um, his availability and his ability to control the middle is is a big piece to this game. Jackson Dart and his ability to make plays with his feet and with his arm is going to be a big part of this. LSU's got a really hang on just a second. Let me see. Yeah, so I think he's good. I think Walter Nolan's going to be okay. Nothing that I'm reading. I just had to check real quick. Nothing that I'm reading is showing that he's going to miss the game or be limited in any way. He came out of the game last week a couple of times, but LSU has some playmakers on offense. Caden Durham, of course, Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback, really good offensive line, but they've proven to be more of a very good pass blocking offensive line than a run blocking offensive line. They have struggled to get the run game going a number of times this year. They have done a really good job of keeping Garrett Nussmeier clean though, and letting him get the ball downfield. You got Kyron Lacey. Hopefully they get Chris Hilton back finally to make his debut. That's kind of been the target this whole time. He had a bone bruise in his foot and it's just been nursing it, getting it back. He's been like full go at practice for a couple of weeks now, but
Hmm.
they haven't activated him for a game yet. So hopefully that guy who can take the top off the defense will be available because then it makes Kyron Lacey, CJ Daniels, Aaron Anderson, those guys, and Xavier Thomas a little bit more able to act in that middle and that underneath because you've got a guy who can take it deep. And then of course you got some of those guys they're good deep threats too. They're just not that burner. And of course Caden Durham, but the defense is going to be the big part that's going to be what you have to keep your eye on. So the linebacking core, the entire defensive front has been playing better than I expected with Harold Perkins out. It seems like maybe some of these guys feel a little bit more comfortable in like now they know their roles and there's not that rotation at linebacker anymore. So guys like Whit Weeks and Greg Penn are just on the field all the time now
Hmm.
instead of working that rotation because they would have like a 2 or 3 linebacker setup depending, or sometimes even just a one linebacker if they were in nickel or dime. So having two guys who are really good out there all the time and just pinning their ears back and getting after the quarterback and plugging run lanes, it's been really good. We talked about some of the young guys: Ahmad Bro, JBR Suggs, Dominic McKinley, and then of course Braden Swinson on the rushing off the edge. We're gonna see. They don't have that guy. I think Harold Perkins as that spy to just kind of like
Hmm.
not let Jackson Dart beat you with his legs, and also get in the backfield and create some havoc back there. Him not being available, it just I don't know. I'm nervous about this one. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know. I'm also kind of optimistic. The fact that they beat South Carolina the way that they did, you know, the anger and get back factor kind of it's like they took out all their frustration with the Kentucky loss
Yeah.
in South Carolina. So that's good because they don't have that piss and vinegar motivating them for this game. But and LSU had a week to prepare, an extra week to prepare for this game, which is also good, and got to get some guys healthy. So we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm very nervous about this one.
Yeah. I think I like I will be supporting you guys. I like just it's a night game in Death Valley, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that makes for just electric football on a Saturday night. I think
Mhm.
with the improvements your defense has made, I think this over still probably hits, but
Yeah.
might not be the hopefully for your sake, not the 54-49 craziness that
Yeah.
was last year.
No, I don't want that for sure. So South Carolina at Alabama, this spread honestly kind of surprises me. I know
Mhm.
Alabama's probably going to be angry and ready to take it out on South Carolina, but I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to put Alabama on meltdown watch because, like, I don't know if this coaching staff, this roster, you had a bunch of dudes left through the portal. You had some dudes come in through the portal. But the fact that they had the exodus that they had when Kalen DeBoer was hired,
Mhm.
and then winning was kind of masking a lot of the things that we were trying to point out, like, hey, look, it's not the same as it used to be. I wonder if that loss to Vanderbilt, how they're going to respond to that. And Shane Beamer and that South Carolina squad is not a joke. This isn't Mississippi State where you can just go out there, roll the football out, and just push them around, and you're going to beat them. And all due respect to my Mississippi State fans who might be watching this, you know where you are right now. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not a good time for the Bulldogs. Um, but South Carolina's not a joke, and Alabama favored by 21 and a half. What were they favored by? 23 and a half against
Yep.
Vanderbilt?
Exactly right. 23 and a
You
half.
know? So,
Mhm.
so, so that spread don't mean anything. And then, because people always like, oh, Vegas knows they get it right more than they get it wrong. Yeah, but when they get it wrong, a lot of times it's epic. And
Mhm.
we got some stuff wrong too. But we don't get our numbers put on the screen everywhere in the country. So they got to do better. 21 and a half just seems like a lot to me. I may be dabbling a little bit with that one. But a really good matchup that's coming up this week. Texas and Oklahoma playing each other for the first time ever as SEC teams. I don't think 14 and a half would have been anywhere close to the spread coming into the season,
Oh, absolutely not. You're
but it
talking
is
less than a
now.
touchdown. It is
Yep.
now. I mean, it is now, and I think it is rightfully so. Like, I
Hmm.
think when the slate was teed up, like, early in the season about even, like, the Ohio State-Oregon game, like, I still like the way Oregon is kind of
Hmm.
not really we'll get to that, but, Oklahoma just not looking very good at, like, really at all yet,
Right.
like, this season, and that's unfortunate because this being, like, their like you said, the first matchup in the SEC, um, I don't want this to be a blowout, but I'm not gonna be shocked if it is. Like, I
No.
know that sounds terrible to say, but,
Yeah.
like, we talked about, like, the preseason hype with Arnold and with
Hmm.
Nico, and we're kinda seeing what happens when you hype up the young not always, but
Right.
when we give these young guys their hype after a bowl game performance, you gotta see what
Hmm.
happens after the fact, and the matter of the fact is this is not your typical Oklahoma squad in terms
Right.
of talent or execution and
Hmm.
play style. It's like, I mean, Lincoln Riley left and took all of his, all of the points with him, I think.
Yeah.
All the touchdowns went with Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's
And
just
Dylan Gabriel, apparently.
Angela Gabriel. But
Nice job, guys. Way to go.
nice,
Way to go,
good job,
Oklahoma.
everybody. This, I mean, but however, regardless of how these teams look coming into this game, this is one of those where anything and everything is possible. Like, it could easily be Texas by a million, just as easy as it could be a 3-point game coming down to the wire.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, Archie's looking the part, and I'm sure that Alabama misses Isaiah Bond so dearly right about now. Um, but I don't know. I think that obviously the easy thing to say is I think Texas whoops them. But I
Hmm.
mean, don't
Hmm.
be shocked that I'm playing Stephen A. Smith, but don't be surprised if this game might be late close. No,
Yeah.
close late. Excuse
No.
me.
Well,
It is
so
late here, but don't
right,
be surprised if it's close late.
right. Yeah. So I was actually say so we talked about the realignment and how you have like the Cal Miami situation,
Hmm.
Minnesota, USC, Michigan, Washington, all these weird travel schedules and like cross country road trips to play somebody who's
Hmm.
in your conference.
Hmm.
Um, this one's kind of the opposite. It's a whole different animal where you have these like long time bitter rivals from another conference that all they did was just like come join another conference
Yeah.
and they still get to play each other and they're still big rivals and they're playing this game in Dallas. It's a neutral site and it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be raucous.
Dude, for
Um,
real.
so we don't know what to expect. It's the Red River Rivalry. It's one of the ones. It's one of the big ones. And we talked about like the Iron Bowl and the cocktail party and LSU Arkansas and Michigan Ohio State, these kinds of games where it doesn't matter how good you are, or Michigan State where like you know it's you don't know until you go out there and play the game. Some of these kids have been playing with each other since I don't know, grade school, middle school, high
Right.
school.
Especially these two
So
teams.
yes, so like there's a lot of unpredictability from the standpoint of what this game has meant before this time. This isn't just Texas or like Tennessee played Oklahoma a few weeks ago where it was just like, well, these teams don't normally play each other. This will be weird. No, these teams play each other all the time and they hate each other. And
See,
so
that's what I
I'm
mean.
kind of expecting it to be a crazy game.
Yeah. Like these, like if you're from Texas, you don't go play at Oklahoma, and if you're from
Hmm.
Oklahoma, you don't go play at Texas, and if you do, you are ostracized from the
Yeah.
entire state. That's just like how
Mhm.
that works, and it's the truth.
Yeah. So you guys, on the other hand, are 32.5 point favorites against Mississippi State. And I don't think this is a bad line for the Bulldogs versus the Bulldogs because I think the Bulldogs are going to blow the Bulldogs out.
It's true. Yeah, it's like, and I could say a lot, but I really don't feel them. Like Mike Leach passing away was just like
Yeah.
so unbelievably hard for this team, and you
Hmm.
have Will Rogers leaving. And
Yeah.
I just like it. I mean, I don't want to feel so much pity for another team, but it's like
Hmm.
hard to like really. I'm not gonna talk shit on a team that's really recovering
Right.
from a lot and a
Right.
lot of real problems that like just
Hmm.
things that have happened to them, and you can't overlook the fact.
Life stuff. Yeah.
And life comes at you fast, man. And so all I'm gonna say is, um, I just want us to look as those two words, systematic and deliberate, as last week,
Yeah.
and add
Right.
on and build on that, and maybe put up some more points. I think we can absolutely do that. I think that we can. You can see flashes of how we looked against Tennessee Tech. I'm not going to compare an SEC school to an FCS school,
Hmm.
but I'm just saying, like, Mississippi State is really weak right now, and that's due to a lot of factors outside of their control.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right. For sure.
and so I think that if we roll the ball out, take care of business, look good doing it, that's all I really have to say about this one. I think 32.5 is pretty appropriate.
Hmm.
I don't know if we'll cover that. I don't know if we don't really care. We're just gonna get her done. But yeah, it just Mississippi State's been pretty hurting since Mike Leach passed away, and I feel bad. You just
No,
very
for sure.
bad for them.
No.
So I think as long as the boys look good, and we put up some numbers, I'll be a happy camper, and we'll move on to
Hmm.
Texas.
Yes, indeed. So moving outside the SEC, finally, Penn State, who we saw them, they didn't look terribly impressive against Illinois a couple of weeks ago. Didn't look terribly impressive against UCLA. Now they've got a USC team that's coming off a loss to Minnesota, licking their wounds, maybe trying to get back, get right. Maybe they were looking ahead, and that's why they stubbed their toe against Minnesota. Um, Now they get Penn State. You got to travel to LA.
Mm.
What do you think about that one? Do you think USC has a shot in this one? The spread's only 5.5. The way that USC played last week and the way Penn State's been playing, you would expect that maybe to be north of a touchdown, maybe even pushing double figures. But it's under a touchdown, and I think USC actually has a shot.
I think it being in LA keeps the spread under a touchdown.
Hmm.
However, USC's run defense. I mean, Minnesota ran the ball all over USC,
Hmm.
and I've talked about it before.
Well, Bear
Nick,
Alexander being out is part of that. Like
yeah, that's right.
that's
Who
you
even
go
that
you
guy?
go
Don't
get
even get
it.
me started.
Yeah, you go get a dude to transfer to your school, and then he's just like, ah.
We didn't
So
need him anyway.
yeah.
Katron Allen, Nick Singleton. What more can I say about those boys? Whoever you want to put in the game is going to get it done.
Yeah.
Aller has
And Aller's been
maintained. He has
is
not gotten
doing
too
his
far
thing.
outside of himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely met. You've seen marked improvement on how they played last year.
Right.
Um, I know they have not been able to really separate against teams they should probably beat. I think UCLA
Mm-hmm.
should have been a more decisive win. I mean, obviously they struggle with Bowling Green. I think what is going to potentially hurt them is their pass defense. It just seems like teams are really able to get open looks in the middle of the field against Penn State. Bowling Green and UCLA are both able
Yeah.
to do it fairly well. Um,
That's Lincoln Riley and
e-
Miller
e-
Moss. Yeah,
exactly.
that's their MO.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Katron ran for 78 last week. But I mean, UCLA, I mean, they didn't like, I mean, Justin Martin only threw for 167, but like there were guys that were wide ass open in the middle of the field. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's going to be even more of a problem with the receiving talent that's at USC and a guy who can really deliver the ball like Miller Moss. Um, so it's going to be those two things. I think it's USC's run defense. What breaks first? Penn State's pass defense or USC's run defense? And I think you kind of go from there. I think the line being where it's at is pretty fair. Like I said before, I obviously like the pseudo homer in me likes Penn State here, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Um, but yeah, I lean Penn State here just because of USC's like lack of ability to stop the run.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, if you haven't watched before, Tyler is a Georgia fan, but
Mm-hmm.
he lives in Pennsylvania, so he's been to Happy Valley numerous
Mhm.
times to watch a game there, and so that's why he's a pseudo homer because he's kind of dual allegiance, but his first allegiance, of course, is to
Yeah.
Georgia and the SEC, of course. But
Mhm.
yeah, so and let me take this opportunity while we're having this little pause in the action to remind you to like, to share, to subscribe. Get all your LSU fan friends, all your Georgia fan friends, anybody else in the SEC, especially like, do they hate Alabama? Bring them
Yeah.
along. We will revel in the crimson tears of the Kalen DeBoer era. We will enjoy every drop like the sweet nectar that it is. We are looking forward to the Kalen DeBoer era continuing to disappoint Alabama fans. They are, man, the call-in shows. It's just funny to listen to,
Paul
man.
Feinbaum.
They are gripping. It's so they're not used to having to cope, and now they have to cope, and
I know.
it's so nice to be like, yeah, now you're just like the rest of us.
Mhm.
Enjoy. Um, we got a big one coming up this weekend, though, Tyler. This is one of the biggest matchups all year. It's right up there with the Georgia Alabama game a couple of weeks ago. It's up there. It's one of the big ones. Ohio State travels to Eugene to take on the Ducks in the first ever Big Ten meeting between these two teams, and it's a top five matchup. Like, these two teams are legit. This is, you've got number two against what, number
3. It's 2-3.
four, three, two,
It's
three.
it's
Yeah,
AP 2-3, dude. This is as
yeah.
good as it gets right now mid-season,
So we
you
wanted
know?
to have Jeremiah and Drew come on to talk about this. They're too chicken. They didn't want to come talk about it. No, they just I think they didn't
No.
have time. We never got a response from them, but hopefully we will get them to come on and either recap this game next week, or maybe if I can get them to come on uh, in the next couple of days while we lead up to the game. We'll see if we can get them on for like a Friday or Saturday morning or something like that
Mhm.
to break this one down. But I don't know. Like we had talked about the the old Kansas State quarterback transferring to Ohio State and what that means, what it looks like for both of these teams. They've got transfer quarterbacks. Ohio State's got a transfer quarterback. Oregon's got Dylan Gabriel. So like, what are we looking at? Two very high powered offenses. Ohio State, I think, has a better defense, but it's close because
Mhm.
Oregon has some talent. They got some speed. They got some big playability. How do you see this one shaking out? Do you think Oregon's home field advantage is enough, or is that 3.5 point spread accurate?
I mean, I think that these teams match up fairly well, like you said. Ohio State's defense is looking the part, and you got guys like Jeremiah Smith on the field that are just absolute. You talk the talk of the year is Jeremiah Smith
Mm-hmm.
and Ryan Williams, as far as
Mm-hmm.
freshman phenoms are considered.
Right.
Um, I think that Dylan Gabriel. I don't know if we. It's hard to say. It sounds like we might have expected more out of him earlier in this, like to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this weekend is going to prove a lot. I think the number is accurate coming. Got to go to Eugene. I couldn't even imagine if this game was in Columbus what it would be like. And I'm pretty sure the last time these two teams played, if I'm wrong, Oregon did come to Columbus and beat them. Like I'm pretty sure I remember that was the
Okay.
last matchup. Like it wasn't that long ago either. Like we're talking like within the last like 5 years. I'm pretty sure that happened. Don't quote me. I'm pretty sure. Um, but yeah, I think that it's funny. It's like Will Howard doesn't seem that much better than Kyle McCord, but Ohio
Mm-hmm.
State's offense seems that much better. And it's
Mm-hmm.
funny, like you lose a Marvin Harrison and get better
Yeah.
on offense.
Well, and Will Howard. So the other thing about Will Howard, though, that's a little bit different to me is like he was Kansas State's quarterback for it seemed like 10 years already
Mhm.
before he transferred,
He's a
and now
2020 graduate. I know that because my brother had
yeah.
to play him in the state playoffs.
Okay. Okay. So he played in 21, 22. Wait, no, 2020 graduate. So he
He should
played
be. Maybe he's
in
not.
2020, 21, 22, 23. So this is his fifth year in college.
Yep.
Um, yeah, okay. So anyway, just but it seemed like he started from like the very beginning at Kansas State. He was in that famous game, the Big 12 championship with TCU, where they actually beat TCU before TCU still made it to the playoff anyway,
Mhm.
and beat Michigan in the playoff. So like he's got a little bit of experience playing against somebody from the Big Ten. Um, so I don't know, but it still is one of those um, cross country weird rivalry.
For
Yes,
sure.
The Big Ten and the Pac-12 have had this tie-in with the Rose Bowl and that sort of thing. So there's a little bit of not bad blood, but there's a little bit of that like rivalry sort of stuff going on, but not
Mhm.
really. Ohio State and Oregon aren't. They
It's
don't play each
because
other
they're both
often.
hyped up. Like they
Yeah,
both are like you look at them on paper and this is a great matchup. You look
right.
at them and they're when Oregon was a part of the Pac-12, or they are consistent. They are likely to win this conference.
Hmm.
And I think it's more of the fact that Ohio State doesn't just have to play Michigan once a year.
Right,
Now
right.
they get to play Oregon, and now they
Yeah.
it's different for them now. It
Hmm.
adds more
Oregon,
competition.
USC,
Right.
Washington, like
It
there's a
adds
lot.
more competition to the Big Ten, and this is a prime example of that. Like it's like you wouldn't think they're bitter rivals, but it's just because of where they're ranked right now, where they were ranked in the
Yeah,
preseason.
they yeah
It looks great, and I'm very
they
excited
become
for it.
rivals just based on like what the game means in
Right.
terms of like, it's a big game for both of them. It's kind of like Duke and Kansas aren't necessarily rivals, but
Yeah.
it's a big game if they play each other in basketball in December or
Exactly.
January,
It's like
because
we're
it
good.
means something.
Yeah.
We're
It's
both
I'm
going to
good
be
here and you're good there, but now we're going to be good on the same field.
right, and like we're probably like previewing something that's going to happen in the NCAA tournament, or in this case,
Mhm.
a playoff. Like this is where you start to get into like playoff preview conversations about some of these games. Where it's like, could this be a playoff preview? Could we see
Right.
these two teams play each other again in the playoff? Yeah, you could. So, yeah, that's going to be a good one. So, somebody who has played against Oregon hasn't played against Ohio State yet this year, but he saw his fortunes dramatically change in the Heisman race. Our man, Ashton Jeanty. Listen,
Dog.
do you
Dog.
know how many snaps he played in the second half of that game?
None. Right?
Zero.
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 Right? I was gonna say. I know that one. Zero.
13 for 186 and 3 touchdowns in a half.
Dude, he. I don't know what you do with Boise State. Like, do you try to chase Barry, like, and let him get the reps? Like, because
Yeah.
the kid's an absolute dog, and they got him to stay at Boise State. But I mean, I guess load management is a thing.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's so crazy. So his 2023 stats, he had 220 carries for 1,347 yards and average 6.1 yards per carry. And he had 14 tuds. At this point in the season, and they've only played.
He's already past that.
He's already passed that. He's got 95 carries for 1,031 yards, averaging 10.9 yards a carry. He already has 16 tuds. Do we think he beats Barry? Like, do we think he beats Barry?
I mean, at this rate, he could, if he wanted to, he could run for 3,000 yards. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, dude.
He legit, like, what are they, 5 games in?
Mm-hmm.
And he only played half of one of them?
Right. So he's played 4.5 games, and he's
4.5
rushed for over 1,000
games?
yards.
What are we talking about here? This is crazy. And then, like, do you count his numbers if he gets to the playoffs and then puts up numbers in the playoffs?
Did they count? So I
Because
heard this earlier. I don't think they
yeah,
counted Barry Sanders's bowl game to
bowl
his
game.
record.
Yeah, maybe not.
So
Yeah,
maybe they won't if they want to compare the
because I
two.
know I know Joe Burrow got credit for his because it added to his stats for the
I'm just not sure how they
yeah.
do that nowadays with playoff versus regular season stats, considering how college
But I mean,
football's
they could totally
stats
merge that
changes.
stuff together at this point. Like it's not like the games didn't happen. All you have to do is be like,
It's true.
and now we're including these. There,
Right.
done.
For
We
sure.
did it.
Yeah.
So, because I mean,
Dude's a
it's
dog.
still stuff that counts. So
Hmm.
that's but yeah,
He's
he's a monster.
he's my
Absolutely.
Heisman winner. That's all I gotta say. Like, I want him to win the Heisman so badly, just because it'd be so sick to see a
Yeah.
non-power
There's
five and a running back win the Heisman. I think that'd be great.
right. There's only 2 people who I would be okay with beating him for the Heisman. Garrett Nussmeier and Diego Pavia. You lost to Vanderbilt. You lost to Vanderbilt.
Think that was
Vanderbilt?
coming back.
You lost to Vanderbilt.
I didn't think that was coming back. That was
Oh
hilarious.
hell yes, it's coming back.
That was funny. That one actually caught me off guard.
Oh gosh. Yeah, you didn't see
Oh,
that one coming, did you?
no, I didn't.
No, but listen,
I
like
didn't see the whatever.
no BS though. Like that throw he made on 4th and 1. Did you
Yeah.
see that play? Like I was watching it live, and like dude, like just plowing right into like right under his chin. He's just like, ah, just heaves it, and then the
Yeah.
receiver's like running so fast to try to get under it. He barely like fingertip grabs it while he's like losing his balance because
Hmm.
he's like full stride and reaching while he's striding, and so he's like about to fall down, trying to keep his balance, and he still hangs on to it. Like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh. It's one of those plays where like if he catches that, Vanderbilt wins that game. If he doesn't catch that, Alabama probably wins by 3 touchdowns.
Hmm.
Because that's where the game was at that point, where it
Yeah,
was like
dude.
that touchdown. I think that made it a 2-score game again. And if it didn't, Alabama was going to get the ball back and they were going to have a chance to go march down the field, score. Then it starts because Alabama never had the lead in that game.
Hmm.
It was just they kept it was like an accordion. They kept getting a little bit closer, and then Vandy would pull away. They'd get a little closer, Vandy would pull away. It was like you were watching. They had switched uniforms before the
Right.
game, and it's like, well, yeah, this is what Alabama does. They might play with their food a little bit, but then eventually they're going to eat you. So,
Yeah, if I had to pick my Heisman top 3 right now, it's if I took people I'd want to win it, it's Jeanty number 1,
mm-hmm.
um, Travis Hunter number 2,
Yeah,
and
Travis Hunter's
Cam
good.
Ward number 3. I'm not worried about Carson Beck winning the Heisman. He's a quarterback of an SEC team, and he's a senior, so you automatically get some Heisman
Mm-hmm.
traction. I'm not too worried about that. I just want us to play well, but
Yeah,
that's my personal thing right now. But that's yeah, dude.
yeah,
College football is so great this year. We got a great slate of
it
games
is.
coming up this weekend.
Yeah, and Cam Ward was like, I thought his Heisman chances were on the brink too,
Mhm.
and then he's just like, no, watch this, bitch. And then it was just like, oh, yep, he's right back in the thick of the race.
Yep.
He's no Ashton Jeanty, but damn, he just like put the team on his back and like literally like willed them to win. So that's yeah, he's one where if you feel good about Jeanty and you want to hedge it, I'd probably hedge it with him. So
Mhm.
anyway. But that's all we got for tonight. We appreciate
Yep.
everybody coming through, and we're looking forward to a great week 7 with some big matchups, and the season's just going to continue to get crazier and better. I can't wait. I'm enjoying every minute of it, even though it's like mind-boggling how stupid I seem every week because I had no idea some of this stuff was coming. It just like completely catches me off guard. Like I was hoping Alabama would lose to Vanderbilt. I, in no universe, thought it was actually going to happen.
Nope.
I thought there may be a universe out there that exists where this happens, but we don't get to live in that one.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We get to live in that universe because you lost to Vanderbilt. Suck it, Alabama.
Yo, we gotta get up out of here, dog.
All right.
I can't.
I'll
I
talk.
can't.
Peace, y'all. I'm Chad. He's Tyler. The South End Zone is out of here. You lost to Vanderbilt. Bye.